Hello and welcome to the MyBlend Stories series. I'm Dave Goodrich. I am an instructional designer with the MyBlend program, and today I have the extreme pleasure of introducing you to Paul Murray from Portage Public Schools. I met Paul at MACUL this year. I went to his session that was just jam-packed on the topic of implementing Google Hangouts district-wide, and there were so many questions that came up during the session, and it was just very engaging, and I've been really looking forward to doing this story with Paul and asking him some questions about this new initiative they've been doing at Portage Public Schools. So Paul, thank you for being with us and welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. So could we talk a little bit about what your role is at Portage Public Schools and how you got into that role?
Yes. Well, I'm actually a technology and integration specialist. That's my official title. So I'm essentially a tech coach. It is my job to work with teachers to help them engage their students more fully with the content and curriculum through the use of technology. And that ranges from anything from interesting websites to devices to just anything that really will allow them to be able to work with their kids in a more efficient and effective manner. Yeah. So how did I get here? Well, I began with Portage back in 2000 as a industrial drafting teacher, vocational certification, whatnot. So I've always worked in a computer lab. In fact, I've always worked with computers throughout my life. Just one of those things you pick up as you go, you know. So, from there, I've moved around several times, from being a math teacher to working in a wood shop to whatnot. But I've always used technology in my classroom. And so a couple of years ago, the district, we've always had a technology integration specialist of some sort or another, but with the large amount of technology that we've recently installed in all of our buildings over the past 5-6 years, we found that there was need to have an additional person within that role. So that's when I applied for the position and was able to get in. And man, if I could tell you what I knew about technology before getting into this position, as it pertains to the classroom, and what I know now, goodness, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. Oh, I think the lights just went out on me. I'm in a room with a switch.
Hey, that's all right. We can still see it pretty good. So yeah, and I think it's really valuable. I know actually that it's really valuable for the teachers in Portage Public Schools that they have you as a resource, and especially you being somebody who came into this role from being a math teacher. So you're very in tune with the needs that a teacher has and kind of the goals that they have for student success, and you're able to really support them from a pedagogical standpoint as well as a technological standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. The teachers are constantly, lauding over my colleague and I, Jessica Winstanley, and they are just singing our praises and letting us know how much we are loved and endeared and how helpful we are. It's amazing. Spending 5 minutes with a teacher will endear them to you for the rest of their lives.
I have no doubt in my mind. I'm sure they're singing your praises very loudly, and it's just fun to, there's other districts and schools who just really covet having even that role in some instances. So it's a great resource for Portage schools, and I'm personally glad about it because I grew up in Portage, and so did Jamie DeWitt, who's our coordinator for the MyBlend program. So we have a a heart for Portage, and just excited that you're there and excited about the things you're doing. Now, specifically, you were talking about a technology that caught my interest, and I signed up for your session because you were talking about the use of Google Hangouts at Portage Public Schools. And it really caught my interest because we, in the MyBlend program, have been exploring and leveraging the affordances of Google Hangouts as a team, as well as even what we're doing right now, reaching out and having a platform to have these kind of conversations where others can join in real time or after the fact. So I wanted to hear maybe a little bit from you about this whole initiative and what's it been doing for you and for teachers at Portage?
Well, when I had got into this position, my boss charged me specifically with finding new technologies and to help teachers push the technology envelope. And so being a Google Apps for Education school, of course, we have all the Google services available to us. And so I started playing around with Hangouts a little bit, trying to get an idea of what that might look like in a classroom. And then, goodness, it was sometime this last late summer, early fall, when Google came out with the Google Connected Classroom, and using Hangouts to connect multiple classrooms from across the nation or perhaps across the world to virtual field trips. And I thought, man, that is a fantastic idea. How can we make that work in Portage, and what would that look like for its teachers? And so I got connected with that site and connected with the Google Plus community as well. Tried to figure out exactly, what that might look like. And then I started sending some emails out to administration, to building level or grade level team leaders, trying to find, what it is that, or whether or not there was even any interest in pursuing something like this. I was trying to find that hook. And so I actually found, and you heard her name during their presentation at MACUL, Michelle Brought, one of our Young Fives teachers, and in fact the team leader for that department. And she thought, man, this would be an exciting way for me to engage my kids and outside of the four walls of her classroom. And so I started working with her in that excitement. And from there was able to start expanding the use to other departments. Say, hey, look what Michelle's doing. And so it's still not as widespread as I'd like. I'm still trying to find ways into teachers' classrooms and find find where they're trying to get their students to, and then how using Hangouts might allow them to be able to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really intriguing to me about how these teachers have been using it at Portage Public Schools, and some of the things that it's allowed them to do that maybe they just weren't as possible before. Could you share maybe a couple examples or an example of that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've got actually several. So one of my first use of Hangouts actually was even before the connected classrooms. We had a teacher who had a homebound student who still was able to participate in actually the work of the class, the assignments, and in the instruction, but they couldn't physically be present in the classroom. And so she came to us looking for a solution. How can I record my my sessions, my teaching, so that the student can still participate and not fall behind? So after a little bit of investigation, I thought, well, heck, let's try a Hangout on Air, because with the Hangout on Air, it was beautiful. The teacher could record their entire lesson. They make heavy use of Microsoft OneNote for a math high-level math course in at the high school level, and through that, the Google Hangouts, she was able to broadcast her teaching live, and then it was automatically saved to her YouTube channel, which she was then able to share out on her Google site with the rest of her students as well. So she started to find that not only was it beneficial for this homebound student, it was also beneficial to record these lectures for her other students, so that when they're at home working on the assignments, they can actually go back in time and see exactly what she said for whatever particular work they were doing that day. So she's actually since then recorded an entire year of instruction, and now has it available for her students.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to like connecting with some of these teachers there and hearing their stories, because it almost sounds like that was a catalyst for her to start thinking about some of the affordances of flipping her classroom, and
Right.
It almost sounds like she's got like a year's worth of stuff, and now she's thinking, how can I chunk these into smaller pieces and then use those as homework, so that in class we can focus on giving them more support in practicing.
Yeah, absolutely, and that that would be the ultimate hope. There is that it just doesn't stop with a recorded lecture. That she sees the power of that, and how she might be able to alter that, change that skill set in order to better benefit her kids. So
yeah, and there was this other example that you shared too about a teacher who, and this is of huge interest to all schools, I think, of connecting the classroom to the surrounding community. And the example you shared was a classroom that got connected to Binder Park Zoo. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, this was a classroom Michelle Brat is teaching in, and so what she did was she got right on this bandwagon with Google Hangouts in the classroom, and she actually took it upon herself to contact Binder Park Zoo. And it just so happens that within recent time here, Binder Park has they have hired an educator, or specifically for zoos. Her name is Barbara Agins, and I'm throwing that out there because she would absolutely love anybody to contact her and set this up.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what she did actually was the two of them got together, they started talking, and they were able to connect via Google Hangouts. I had to assist on the technology side a little bit with that, but really once I met with Michelle, it was pretty simple for her to do on her own. But they did like a 20-minute session. It was a minimal cost, and the beautiful thing about that is that after that connection where she showed, Barbara shared with us 3 different animals, and was really able to engage with the kids. One of the interesting things with that actually was the fact that it's really hard to see an animal up close and personal, because generally people don't like animals shoved in their face. It's
I don't like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, especially so. Barbara had a large boa constrictor with her, and so she was able to show that boa constrictors and all snakes actually have feet, and she was able to put the snake right up to the camera for the kids to see and really engage with them that way. And those kids were glued to the screen. It was great.
I'm sure they were.
Yeah. So, but they. So anyway, from that, you know what? I lost my train of thought there. Got excited about talking about the snake.
So I mean that's really cool, because I mean, and I think you said it maybe that it was during the winter months. So like it was an opportunity also for Binder Park Zoo to reach out, right?
Yeah. So thank you. That reminds me that. What they actually did was that allowed Binder to connect in an off-season with the students in a new way, which was beneficial for them. But one of the beautiful things is at the end of the broadcast too, Barbara was able to share about all the new developments that Binder Park was doing. They've moved several of their exhibits around and shifted, one sanctuary to another part of their facility, and then moved some other things. And they were allowed to be able to tell the kids about that and get the kids excited about maybe visiting in the summer. And then Barbara did also come, and she brought. So she had 3 different animals she saw at that time. Well, she brought 3. She bought one of the same, but 2 others. So the kids now got to see in person 3 animals, but virtually they got to see some different ones. So that allowed her to be able to share with the kids a broader range of animals as well. So it really helped the students see more than what they would have if it had just been a regular visit.
Yeah, and it sounded like it was kind of an epiphany for Binder Park Zoo, and they were like, maybe they're still considering like offering this as a new program to schools.
Yeah, they are. So it's still in the works. I haven't had the pleasure of speaking with Barbara since that time, but I know at the time they were still trying to figure out the logistics of how that was going to work and whatnot. And she's really excited about it. And the zoo, of course, is looking at another possible revenue source for them, which is great. But I mean, think of the money that's saved in gas and transportation, lunches alone for the kids in the classroom. So,
right.
Fine, I'll give them a little extra money if it doesn't cost me in those travel expenses later on.
Exactly. Very cool. Well, we're looking forward to connecting and hearing more about those experiences, and as these technologies are going into the classrooms and really facilitate and helping to continue these conversations of building on blended learning at Portage Public Schools. So as maybe with these uses of Google Hangouts specifically, what have been some of the reactions that you've seen from students, from maybe parents even that you've seen, or administrators? What's been the general pulse on the reaction to the usage of Hangouts?
Well, I haven't really had any interaction with the parents per se and whatnot, but from the student, instructor, and administrator standpoint, the students are just glued to the screen, especially when we've used Google Hangouts to connect multiple classrooms together so that one teacher can teach a lesson to multiple classrooms at the same time, and then those teachers in the other classrooms can learn from that. So there's some mentoring going on there. But the kids get to see other classrooms, other kids just like them from other areas, and they're like, wow, your classroom looks just like ours, and you're learning about the same things. And so there's just a growing excitement for the kids in that way. From the administrative standpoint, they're seeing how the kids are reacting to that. So they are really excited to get more of their teachers involved in doing some of these different things with flipped and blended learning, and specifically with the Google Hangouts. And then from the teachers' aspect, they see the benefits. Especially when you can team teach and not have to be in the same physical location. Just that collegiality that comes just from interacting from one another and not having to work behind that closed door. I think it just really helps to broaden their perspective, to open up the doors and break down the walls of your classroom.
Yeah, and like we've talked with a lot of teachers about like how they've tapped into personal learning networks that have been so beneficial to them by getting into the world of Twitter and hearing from perspectives of teachers outside of their own school context even. But what's kind of unique about Hangouts is that you can then create a circle of colleagues that you can have this kind of back channel conversation with each other that is continuous, right? So that's something we've been benefiting with in the MyBlend program, and I think I remember you mentioning that teachers at Portage Public School are kind of tapping into that too.
Yeah, so we've actually had, we've tested this out with a couple of different departments, and they've actually held their department meetings monthly. You know, we had this wonderful winter here in Michigan where traveling was such a breeze that, yeah, you know, but no, really, I mean, they were able to meet and really get some good professional development time out of that meeting, and they never had to leave their classroom. And so that was exciting for them. You know, the PLNs through social media is definitely something that we're looking to try to increase the use of here in Portage. In fact, we have a Portage Technology Camp that our first ever was last summer. We have another one this summer. And during that session, we're going to offer a social media and PLNs and try to get the teachers connected with Twitter and you know, Google Plus communities and really help them see that they can reach beyond just the educators within the district, and then hopefully have opportunities like this to set up more Hangouts and connect and whatnot. I think as they start to see it in use more and more often, that they'll really start to see that there is a true benefit in this.
That's a perfect transition to what I wanted to learn a little bit more about is professional development that you've been doing on these technologies, but letting the pedagogy drive the use of these tech tools, right? So what kinds of professional development have you guys been able to do as it relates to Google Hangouts in the classroom, or has it just been more like that's been a platform to do professional development, or it was just connecting departments?
Yeah, so right now, like I've stated, the you know, the use of Hangouts and flipped and blended learning in general is still in its infancy here in the district. Yeah, we have pockets of teachers that are getting more involved in that, you know, that's exciting, but it's not anywhere near where we'd like it to be. So the professional development that we've had on this is, you know, I've taught several workshops or sessions to my teachers about Google Hangouts, and so it's starting to gain some momentum, but not a lot. We're still working on that. We haven't used it to conduct any trainings itself remotely or do any kind of distance learning yet through Google Hangouts, but that is kind of like one of those vision pieces I have for the future. I'd like to be able to see teachers do that. Again, you know, I'm offering a June training to our teachers on Google Hangouts and how that works in the classroom, as well as, again, at our tech camp, presenting that piece. So, you know, we're hoping to be able to increase and include more professional development using this tool.
And one quick question maybe that we could end on before, I mean, there's so many questions that I'm sure schools would love to throw your way, and we could just talk and talk and talk, but
sure,
we'd also like to maybe include your contact information so other people can ask you more questions going forward who are interested in this.
Oh, absolutely.
One question I think that is very common on this conversation is technological hurdles. Like how has that been, in terms of challenges to implement this district-wide? What have been some of the challenges that you've been experiencing?
The challenges from a technology standpoint are almost negligible, really. Google Hangouts is such an easy system to learn how to use. A little bit of experience and you're on your way. So from a technology standpoint, it's not an issue at all. It's more of an issue when it comes to, you know, how do I fit this into my already busy schedule, and why is it beneficial for me? You know, teachers love to be effective and efficient in their
Yes.
classrooms because their time is so so restricted. And so from that, if you are able to get in there and show them, hey, I can really not only engage your students, but I can save you time doing it, you know, then you tend to get their ear a little bit more often. But you know, from a technology standpoint, I mean, it's so easy. If you're already a Google Apps for Education school, you have access to the service. Just make sure you talk to your system administrator and make sure they have that Google Plus communities turned on so that you can have access to that. And then from there, it's just a matter of going in, setting up your profile, which, you know, you can just, real simple. I tell my teachers, couple quick questions. You need your gender, you need your birth date so they can prove you're older than 13. And then from there, you know, find one person to connect with. Mm. And then you can try it out. You can play with it. You know, heck, I've gotten my mother connected to Hangouts so that we can show her pictures of our, or you know, we can interact with her virtually with our newborn little girl. So you know, you can use this in any way and from any device. I mean, you can. We had a parent who was out in Las Vegas, Nevada, and that happened to coincide with something that a teacher was teaching at that moment, and so they were able to connect via his Android phone to the classroom, and they were able to ask and answer questions and see the Vegas Strip. You know, the good parts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome. Any advice you'd give to a teacher just looking to use this technology or start to think in blended instructional ways?
You know, the first thing is with any technology that you're going to implement in your classroom, start small. Don't overwhelm yourself. I mean, with technology, there's so much out there, and there's so many things that you can do with it. You start to quickly get overwhelmed, like, oh my goodness, I see this other teacher doing this, and I'll never be able to do that. Well, you got to remember, they all started somewhere. They started with, you know, one lesson, or, you know, one assignment, or a 5-minute little piece. You see how it works. You build on that as you go. So don't take on too much. Don't try to eat the entire elephant all at once.
Wise words from Paul Murray. So if someone wants to contact you and ask you more questions about this, how would they go about doing so?
Well, there's a couple of different ways. I am on Twitter, and that is Paul _Murray, Murray, with a numeral 6 afterwards. You can connect with me on Google Plus. So if you go to google.com/plus Paul Murray 6W, you'll be able to meet with me there. And of course, you can always get a hold of me at my Portage email address. That's pmurray@portageps.org. And I'd be happy to talk with you about anything if you have any questions. Anybody.
Awesome. Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. We're looking forward to connecting more in the future and future conversations. And I just really appreciate you sharing with us so that we can, you know, tell the world what you're doing. It's awesome.
Absolutely, and actually I just really appreciate this opportunity because it does give me a chance to hopefully reach a broader audience. And you know, it's not all about Portage, it's about what we can do for our kids as a whole, nationwide, worldwide. They're the most important people.
Beautiful. And for those watching and checking this out, thank you for taking the time to listen in on another MyBlend story. We're looking forward to doing some more of these in the near future. Thanks for being here. Have a great one, everyone.